All right, that's upside down. It's Saskia the Unyielding, and this card, so that you can read it, is a really fun commander. It requires you to actually build a good mana base and put good lands into it. So unfortunately, unless you want to have a deck that's gonna struggle a lot with mana, you're going to have to put some money into your mana base. And that's kind of one of the only reasons I would recommend not building this deck, just because if I'm going to make a 4-color mana base, I'd rather make like Thrasios, Tymna, Atraxa, or like a 5-color deck like Child of Alara, Golos, Ramos, Dragon Engine, Slivers. I mean, you know, the list goes on. Basically, I don't think that she's worth the worth the price that you have to pay to make this deck. But if you got it laying around, fun deck to make it. Definitely a fun deck to make. So first off, we've got Brutal Horde Chief. He's in here basically as a redundant Master Warcraft effect. We definitely like to stop our opponent's creatures from blocking whenever possible. Since most of the creatures in this deck die to 0/1 plant tokens. So you want to have him in here, definitely. Elspeth Knight Errant. This card wins games a lot because it gives creatures +3/+3 in flying. So give it to your commander and then someone takes 12 in 1v1, or in multiplayer, 2 people take 6. This deck is really, really good in 1v1. Deck is absolute beast for 1v1. In multiplayer, it's still fun, but you have to really be careful who you target with Saskia, with her ETB trigger, because, you commit to that until Saskia dies. There's really no turning back on that. So keep that in mind. Yeah, Elspeth's really good. So we have Vraska. I don't know if I want to keep her in here. I do like the fact that she has a -3 Vindicate effect. And then the -7, I believe, makes 3 assassin tokens. And they have, whenever this creature deals damage to a player, that player loses the game. So it's kind of cheesy, but this deck is pretty good at abusing those tokens, since it's all focused around getting creatures to hit opponents without being blocked. Farseek is a must-have in this deck. You're going to need that mana fixing. Let me just kind of go over the general idea of the deck. I built it as a greenish, I want to say like a kind of a green-black shell, and then the red and the white are kind of splashes. You really want that green core for mana fixing. So here we have Sidar Kondo. This guy is so good. Making creatures unable to block if they don't have flying or reach when your creature has power 2 or less is great, but it also applies to your opponent's creatures, so you can make some friends from that. So yeah, he's a really fun card. I like flanking from a flavor perspective because I used to run that. I mean, it was bad. I never won a tournament, or I don't think I even won a game at FNM with it, but I used to run a mono white Knights deck back during Time Spiral, and they all had flanking, and I thought it was really cool. And everybody beat me all the time, and I was pretty sad about it. Lightning Greaves, you got to have it in this deck. Nobody likes Saskia. Aggravated Assault. I mean, the deck in general is like the cardboard embodiment of Aggravated Assault, so you have to have the card in the deck. But also, additional combat phases are super awesome with Saskia. It's really good at killing people. Nature's Lore, same deal. It goes back to that whole green core idea, and the fact that you want to be able to search for named land cards, not just basic land cards. I just passed a Grand Colosseum. It's not a great card, but it's redundant mana of any color effects. Cultivate. That's a must-have, no question about it. Master of Cruelties, somebody's probably groaning about that card, most likely because they've lost to it in Kalia. And Kalia, see, here's the difference, right? Kalia can really abuse this card because she can just cheat it into play with no blockers, and then boom, first strike damage, put him down to 1. Kalia deals 2. Kalia, unfortunately, really abuses this card and gives it a bad name. Fortunately, this deck is also really good at abusing it and continuing that bad name. So have fun playing it. he works really nicely with, you know, like Sidar, for example. Yeah, so card's pretty messed up. It really tilts people, which I think is great. This land, I think, is worth calling out because when it enters, you make a creature unable to block. That can really mess someone up, and it's a free effect, and they can't counter it. Well, I mean, they can counter it, but they don't counter it through the traditional counterspell channels. Eladamri's Call, again, pick up as many copies of this card as you can at $2, $2.50 a pop, because it's not going to stay there. And it's a creature tutor, instant speed, goes to your hand instead of on top of your deck, which is really, really good. Skeleton Key, Skulk, giving the creature Skulk. Most people are just like, dude, really? When I play this card, honestly, the card cycling is really, really nice, and I win games with this card, 100%. Like I've really won games with that card, no question about it. Whispersoul Cloak, unblockable, and Shroud. You're gonna have to put that on a lot of your creatures. Naya Charm, your opponent's creatures can't block the turn you're attacking them. Basically, you tap them all. So that's pretty cool. Returning a card in the graveyard to its owner's hand is another mode on this card you'll find yourself using a lot. So I would recommend having it in the deck. We've got Mom. She's really good. I prefer the old artwork. Fun fact, the Urza's Legacy versions are about half the price of the newer printings on TCG Player. I don't know why. Don't know how long it's going to last. That's as of like July 17th or whatever, 2019. So yeah, she's insanely good in this deck. She'll help you win games, and she's kind of cheap right now, so pick some up. Helm of the Host. You know, just in case you haven't figured out why that card's good in the deck, I'll let you read those two cards side by side. All right, you guys are all fast readers, I'm sure. Really proud of you. Good job with your reading. Yeah, that card's nuts. Seriously. Making extra copies of Saskia, you know, extra damage to everybody. You know, if I could clone Furnace of Wrath pointed at my opponents, I would do that. So, you know, logically, you'd want to do that with Helm of the Host. Diabolic Tutor. I mean, you could do it with Master of Cruelties, I guess, as well, which is kind of funny and really stupid and probably not going to win you any games. But hey, whatever. There is another card in the deck that Helm of the Host is for. You'll see. Diabolic Tutor. I don't even know if I put Demonic Tutor in the deck. I probably did. We'll find out. But you should run Diabolic and Demonic Tutor. Even though it's a 4-mana tutor, it's still kind of worth having. Phyrexian Reclamation. There's not a lot of stuff that's going to help you get guys back from the graveyard. So you got to have at least one in the deck. I prefer in artifact or enchantment form because, you know, a one-off reanimation or, you know, return to hand is typically not going to help you in any game that's attrition focused. So I think, you know, Oversold Cemetery is also a really good option. You know, you could consider that, but, you know, Phyrexian, what's it called? Phyrexian Reclamation is still pretty solid. Gisela, we already understand what this card does and why it does it and why it should be in the deck. She's awesome, and she kills people. Blade of Selves. So, it's a good card. I like it a lot. It works really nicely on Saskia. But, like, it just goes on so many creatures in the deck. I don't think, you know, I don't really know where I'm going with this. Basically, the token leaves at the end of combat, right? So that's kind of unfortunate. Whereas, you know, with the Helm of the Hosts, like, it's going to help you actually just start stacking the damage on people because you can keep putting tokens out that are going to stay in play. So Blade of Selves isn't as good as the Helm, but it's still good enough and can really get some damage in on people. But, you know, if you have to pick one to cut, I would cut the Blade of Selves over the Helm. Master Warcraft, you know, it's a combat deck, so you need to run Master Warcraft in it. Chromatic Lantern, this is a must-have, honestly. You're going to hate yourself if you don't run it. Sarkin Vol. So he has the +1 to give creatures haste. So yeah, +1 to give him +1/+1 in haste. That's really the only reason I use this card. Sometimes you could minus him, I guess. I believe there's actually a new Planeswalker in War of the Spark. So I can't remember his name. He's red-green. He's an uncommon, and he just flat gives your creatures haste, and then you can plus him to give a creature. I'm sorry, you can minus him to give a creature +2/+1, and haste, as well as scry one off it. So I think you could easily run that over Sark and Vol, and it may be slightly better to run it, honestly, just because of the scry. Glistening Oil. So it's good to have. Infect is kind of like cheesy in this deck, but in all fairness, like, you know, a deck that's combat damage oriented when people have 40 life is going to be at somewhat of a disadvantage. So I think it's justified to run it. Gratuitous Violence, great card. You know, the fact that it's one-sided makes it a lot better than Furnace of Wrath, because people can like ping your creatures and kill them with Furnace of Wrath a lot easier than if you have that out. Congregation at Dawn, you know, it searches for 3 creatures, or up to 3 creatures, which is actually even better because you could just get 1 if you want. And it puts on top of your library in any order. At instant speed, pretty good card. Sakura Tribe-Elder, you know, chump blocker plus land tutor. Actually land ramp. Iroas got a victory. He's indestructible, so that's cool. He requires devotion 7 to red or white, red and or white, in order to become a creature. He gives your creatures menace, and he makes it, I believe he prevents all damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. So like, he's good. The menace alone is really, really strong on that card. That'll kill a lot of people. Phyrexian Swarmlord, you could take it out. It doesn't have to be in this deck. I like it. I like having a few infect creatures in the deck. You know, I don't think that the fact that it triggers at the beginning of your upkeep, instead of like Verdant Forest triggering at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, you know, so I think it's not quite as good, but I think it's a little more balanced than if they were to make them at the beginning of each upkeep. I think that'd be kind of stupid. Mask of Memory. You do struggle with card draw in this deck, so unfortunately, you know, you need some, and I've opted for the permanent card draw effects rather than Harmonize or Read the Bones and all that stuff. Those aren't bad cards. In some situations, they're certainly better, but I think that just over the game, for kind of keeping your you know, your deck gassed up, you're gonna want to have the artifact card draw, or, you know, like Phyrexian Arena. And so we have Phyrexian Crusader. He's really good. It just reminds me, I should put Mirror Crusader on this deck if I didn't. Wow, I hope I have it in here. I feel real dumb if I don't. He's really awesome. He does have Infect, so again, people are kind of going to maybe whine a little bit about it, so just like kill them with Infect then, to shut them up. Mage Slayer, this is a really fun card. You know, the fact that it's when the creature attacks is really important, because you know, they might have to block that infect creature. So yeah, I would strongly recommend running them. Phyrexian Hydra. You know, it's an infect creature. It gets its power reduced pretty easily, so don't really count on that card sticking around too long. This is, you know, kind of like a Mother of Runes in a way. Okay, so actually Radiance before Radiance was a keyword is kind of what this is giving. It's good because if your commander's out, you can target your commander, and your guys, all your creatures are going to get protection from 4 colors. So like, it's really good. Alright, I know. Hypnotic Spectre, not going to kill anybody with this card. The card discard is kind of good, I guess. But here's why Hypnotic Spectre is a little bit better in this deck than in other decks. He specifically is making them discard cards when they take damage from him, not when they take combat damage from him. So when you have Saskia out, you do have to realize that it's whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to the chosen player. It doesn't deal combat damage to the chosen player unless, you know, there's some ruling change on that. So it won't trigger the effects of most of the specters, or, you know, most cards that say when they deal combat damage to a player, but Hypnotic Spectre doesn't require combat damage to be dealt to a player only damage dealt. So I think just from that aspect, you're making 2 people discard a card at random. Again, is it great? No, but it's a flyer and it's annoying. And it's like classic. So, you know, sometimes you have to make concessions from a style standpoint. Ogre Battle Driver. This is just one of the stupidest cards ever made for aggro decks. I don't even know, like, I feel bad running this card in some of my decks, to be honest. Like Krenko, I just feel like I feel dirty when I play that card. So it's nice. Phage, this is just pure cheese. I mean, you're just really being stupid when you play this card now. I did win a game with it the other day. My opponent was super tilted, but they were kind of like amazed. It's a funny card. I mean, it's I'm sorry. It's such a funny card. It costs 7 mana, quadruple black. It's gonna get killed the second it hits unless you can somehow protect it. But it feels great winning the game with this card. So this is a card you want like Helm of the Host or Blade of Selves on. Like, that's where it gets real funny. I mean, throw a Blade of Selves on this card and then you can kind of see the value. Flesh Eater Imp, honestly, it's just an infect guy with flying. You can you know, squeeze in that 10 damage by sacking a couple creatures maybe. It's certainly possible, but it's mostly just an infect flyer. It's funny because people were like, when I first played this deck, they were like, oh, like that's probably like an infect deck. They're like whining. I'm like, nah, bro, I'm pretty sure I got like 1 infect card in here. And then I played like 5 infect. Like there's only like, I think there's 5 in the whole deck now that I counted. And I got them all that game. And everybody was just looking at me. Like I was the scum of the earth, and I guess I was. Soul Ring, you know, it's a good card. What do we know about a Johnny Caller Pride? We know that he wins games. We know that flying and double strike is pretty cool to have on a creature, especially when it's like a Saskia or, I don't know, like infect creature. Sunforger, the correct printing of it, the only one that should ever be played in a deck. Great card. You know, you can search up Master Warcraft to surprise win the game on people. They won't like it. That's good, because if they don't like it, you probably do. Oh, also, by the way, equipped creature gets +4/+0. So it kind of lowers that infect threshold a little bit for you, and makes that commander damage coming off of Saskia a little bit more scary. Kadama's Reach. It's Kadama's Reach. Phyrexian Arena. I wouldn't say necessarily an auto-include, but again, I opted for the more slow drip card draw than the, you know, one and done. So I think that you're going to want to run Phyrexian Arena, honestly, over any of the other options that are sorcery. You know, personal opinion, try it out, see which one you like more. Oh, I did skip over City of Brass, but I think you guys know how to make mana bases by now, and if you don't, I'm not going over that right now, but maybe another time, or just like, you can kind of Google it. There's probably a lot of good resources on it. There's some math involved. Explosive Vegetation. You know, it's one of the best green ramp cards for multicolored decks ever made. In addition, obviously, to the obvious Cultivate, Kadama's Reach, and so on. Bathe in Light. This card helps you win games. You know, so Radiance, an awesome mechanic. It gives a bunch of your creatures protection from, you know, a certain color. So it's pretty good. Hunting Wilds. The only reason it's in the deck is because it gets forest cards, which is really good. So like, I don't think I run, I'd have to double check. I don't think I'm running that many duels in the deck, if any. No, I don't think I'm even running duels. So I'm not getting max value out of this. The only thing I'm searching for is like a basic forest, probably in Murmuring Bosk. Still really good. It's still worth running that card. All right, so Alesha, who smiles at death. This person allows you to reanimate cards from your graveyard, which is really good. There's not a ton that you're going to be hitting, but the ones that you are going to be able to grab back from your graveyard, you know, stuff with power 2 or less, are all really solid choices. Like, you can get back Master of Cruelties, You can get back Mother of Runes. So it's a really good card. I strongly recommend it because, again, the deck's creatures are going to get killed, and you don't have a lot of ways to bring them back or protect them. Shred Memory, yeah, it's a tutor for a 2-mana spell. So it's a good card. And the fact that you can remove stuff from someone's graveyard at instant speed makes it worth having in the deck. Even though, it's not quite as good as like a Demonic Tutor from the tutor function, it does have a purpose in the deck. Tainted Strike, I love this card in EDH just because, like, if someone's swinging at someone for 10, you can just get that person killed. Just suddenly. So even though, yeah, you're going to use it on your own creatures a lot to kill people, you can also use other people's creatures to kill people pretty easily. Combat Celebrant, I haven't gotten to use it yet. I don't know how much I like it, to be honest. It's got to attack at least once in order to have it work. So, oh god, without haste, without haste, it's not that good. I think people are just going to kill it. So, haven't tested it yet. Looking at it, I kind of get the feeling it's going to be cut. So Commander Sphere, this is the deck you put it in, not Aurelia, because, you want to be able to get mana of many colors. Sajiri's Step, this card's really good. Again, it can give a creature protection when it comes in. The only thing that's tough with this card is sometimes you'll have it, like, in your starting hand, and you kind of want to hold it up the whole game, and then you, like, let your board get, like, underdeveloped, so don't be bad, don't do things like that, even though it's tempting. Rogue's Passage, so you can hit people and kill them. Rogue's Passage, I think that should be in most EDH decks, honestly, because even if you're not using it, you can use it on one of your opponent's creatures, make it unblockable, and just really mess up, just mess up everybody's day. Douthie Trapper, awesome card. I like the shadow mechanic anyway. I think it's really fun. And again, you can just target a creature, so it can, make opponent's creatures unblockable. I mean, you got so much stuff you can do with this card. Card's awesome. Sylvan Scrying, search for a land card. It's an auto include. Between some of the lands I just showed you, it's pretty obvious why you need to have this in the deck. Bone Dancer, I'm not sure yet, honestly. I think it's worth having in the deck. I haven't ever gotten to use its ability, but I do think that it's worth having in the deck because you have a lot of stuff that makes creatures with power 2 unblockable, and by a lot of things I mean 1. But, like, you have enough stuff that'll make this creature be able to connect with your opponent, and getting the top creature card out of somebody's graveyard in Commander or EDH is probably good. I've found that, Beacon of Unrest, same deal. Like, your opponents tend to have good creatures that you want to steal. Open the Armory, same idea. You want to be able to grab Helm of the Host or Blade of Selves. Pretty straightforward card. Could you run more effects like it? Yeah, you certainly could. You probably would cut Hypnotic Spectre and the next Spectre I'm going to show you in place of them, since those cards don't actually do that much. Boros Charm, I mean, come on. Double Strike, Indestructible, whatever you want. Card's really good. Helps you win the game. So Entropic Spectre, or Entropic Spectre. So, card's not that good at all. And again, the only reason I might have it in here is kind of for that flavor standpoint. Because, yeah, whenever it deals damage to a player, not combat damage. So, same deal with Saskia, right? You can either make your opponent discard 2 cards if you targeted them, or you get to make 2 people discard cards. Is it good? No, it's really not. Not at all. Take it out of the deck. Don't run it in your deck. But, it's fun. And I like fun. So, I say that and then I play, I show you an infect card. So, I guess I'm lying. I guess I'm really just a scumbag who lies. Plague Stinger, it's got flying too, because infect's not bad enough. Okay, I definitely have more than 5 infect cards in this deck, so I'm just a terrible person. That enchants a creature and gives it infect. I don't even want to show you this, but I am. Another infect card, Whispering Spectre. Yeah. Reflecting Pool, run it. Great card. Oh, also, by the way, at least the Shadowmoor foil of it, all these little dots you see on it are like super shiny, and they look like Christmas tree lights on the foil version, so super pretty. Trailblazers Boots. People kind of forget about this card, I think, in Commander. EDH. I used to say EDH all the time, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's Commander." So I stopped, and now I say Commander, and I hate myself a little bit. So Trailblazers Boots, awesome card. Non-basic Landwalk. Landwalk in general is really fun, but non-basic Landwalk in EDH is one of the most tilting things you'll ever be able to play against somebody. Phage with non-basic Landwalk is no joke. And then Joiner Adept. I think it's good. I think it's worth having. I'm playing it over Prismatic Omen because, well, I could lie and say it's because I want to have a creature in the deck, which means one more body to chump block or one more body to attack with. But it's actually because Prismatic Omen's expensive, and I don't know why it hasn't been reprinted yet, but I know that I don't want to be holding it when it does get the reprint. So yeah, Joiner Adept, it's a good card. It's a fun card. You should probably play at least one more of those effects, whether it's, you know, Prismatic Omen or not. So Saskia, I think you have to have some infect in the deck, honestly. I know it kind of, like, maybe it feels dirty, so then just don't do it if you don't like it. But I really do believe that you should have some amount of infect cards in this deck, because if you try to win through traditional fair combat in a 4-color deck, I've got some bad news for you. Like, you're probably going to lose. You know, there's a lot more streamlined decks, 1 and 2 color decks, that win through combat much more efficiently than this deck. So this deck, it just wins through, you know, being tricky and scummy. So, you know, you're playing a deck that kind of wins through, like, dishonesty and scheming. So just embrace it and, you know, really abuse that. It's why we have Phage in here, you know. It's why we have Master of Cruelties. They're not in here because, like, they're nice, fun. I mean, they're nice, fun Timmy cards. They are. But, like, it's like it's evil Timmy, you know. You've pissed Timmy off, and he, like, went out, like, into his dad's shed and, like, got his lawnmower and is, like, running people over. So I don't even know if you can say that on, like, a YouTube video. If there's any Timmys out there, don't do that. Super illegal. You'll probably go to jail. Yep. So that's Saskia in a nutshell. She's a lawnmower. She's an evil Timmy on a lawnmower, and she runs people over.